Let's go ahead and clear all the hard-coded content. So again, I'm going to select that. I'm pressing Shift. I'm clicking the top left, and then I'm holding down the Shift button, and again the bottom right, and you can see I selected that entire range of cells that I want to delete the content of. Go ahead and clear, and again clear contents. There, so I've cleared the content. We want the content in our forecast to be a percentage increase of the content of the sales from last year. So let's say it's 15%. I could go in here and I could just hit enter, and as you remember from our formulas, I could hit enter and click on this on sales report worksheet, and I could select cell B5. Remember, these are relative, so cell B5, and then I could say times 1.15, which would be a 15% increase. Wait, I made a mistake there. Okay, I could equals times 1.15. Okay, there. And then I could drag that down, and then I could drag it all the way through. And I'm going to look here. This, because I dragged them over, this equation is referring to this cell C5 times 1.15. And just remember, when I do the autofill and it carries over the formulas, it's relative. And again, quarter 3, cell D5 is referring to, I get a sales report, cell D5 times 1.15, so it's our percentage increase. A better way to avoid error is to create assumptions in area basically where you can change it all at once, because then I can go here. Let's just say sales forecast assumptions. I'll just merge that, and I can just, instead I can hit equals the relative sales, and then in my formula bar, making sure that the cursor is there, times this cell. Okay, equals, again, cell B5 times, using the star or the asterisk, and there. So I have a sales forecast with an increase of 15%. But watch what happens now when I try and fill those up. You can see that they don't consist of any numbers. You can also see here that there are errors. Okay, the reason why is because whenever I dragged it over, this was doing cell B5 and sales report, cell B5 times cell A14 and sheet 4, which we'll rename this, right click, sales forecast. Okay, so you can see this is doing times A14. When we dragged it over, this is doing over here in this cell, it's doing C5, cell C5 here in sales report in the table, times, it dragged it over, B14. But you can see there's nothing in there, so it's 0. So a number times 0 equals 0. Watch if I drag this over. See what happens? Okay, I can keep doing that. And then remember, these formulas were dragged down, so this would have to be entered all the way through down here. And there we have it entered. But there's a much better way to take care of this. We don't want to fill our worksheet up with all sorts of nonsense. All that I have to do is hard code. Not hard code. I have to, we're referring to a cell. I have to lock in that cell reference. So no matter what, if I drag this, I want it to always multiply by this cell. And the way that I do that is I hit the, before the column letter, I enter the $sign, and before the column number, the $sign. Now that's locked in place. So anytime I drag it over, it's going to still refer to A14 and only A14. Let me remove it. And you can see we have the problem. An easier way, instead of going and entering in the $signs manually, I can just select right there A14, the cell address, and I'm going to press F4. And it did it for me. Now it's locking to that cell. And again, I can just drag these all the way through. Okay. A few other things I can cover that, it's kind of basic. But tab color, I can change the color of the tabs. There's all sorts of formatting that you can do. Right click, tab color, change that tab color. Okay, finally, we're going to save our work. We can see we have our sales report, sales forecast. We want to save it. That's where we get the file. Click Save As, because we're going to have to give it a name. And sales report and forecast. Then we're going to save. These are all the different document types. Sometimes you may have a professor who's using an older version of Excel, and he'll want you to save it as an old version. Or you can just save it as the newest version. Save. And now you've saved your file. And if you want to print, for printing, you know how to print, but you got to make sure that it's going to be able to print out right on paper. So want to go to page layout, or view, and you can click on page layout. And as you can see, if we were to print this out, it wouldn't come out very nice. Our chart would be printed out on a different sheet. It'd be cut in half. While we're in page layout view, we can move and resize things. So we can click on the chart and we can move it down. We can resize it, and then we could print. You also get a view of what it's going to look like printed out over here. Whenever you print out a worksheet in Excel, it also doesn't print out these grid lines unless you add borders to them. If we're to add these borders like this, all borders, it would print it out. Print. Now you can see we have them. That's because it's printing the borders, not the grid lines. You undo that. Also have page break view. So this is, you can see our report's only on one page. But basically you kind of get the idea. You can, if you want to adjust this, you can fix your margins and all that. And that's just stuff you're going to have to go over and play with and learn. But at least we have this on a single